Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. On my far right is Philip Pande, who is a youth inclusive advisor. Philip, good to have you here on the broadcast after a very long time out in the States, and thanks for making time for the broadcast.
Thank you, Ayub, and it's good to be back.
Much appreciated. Stephen Munania is the Deputy Governor of the County of Murang'a, also joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Buka Mole is the Communist Party Marxist Kenya party leader here, joins us this morning as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Much appreciated. Angel Mbudi is the chairperson, the Jubilee Youth League. Good morning.
Good morning, Ayub.
And Nathaniel Mungare is the Director of Political Affairs and Resource Mobilization at the United Democratic Alliance Party, UDA. Thank you for your time, lady and gentlemen. Let's begin with the events of the week. From Monday, there was the intention to formalize the broad-based association. Today, the ODM party is marking its 20th birthday. Yesterday, Martha Karua rebranded from Rainbow to the Roses, from NAK Kenya to PLP. First coming to you, Bona Deputy Governor, what do you make of this, the apparent change within the political environment in the country? But is there value when you look at the ideology and the policies that normally underpin these political parties?
Thank you, Ayub, and once again, good morning to all our viewers and especially my voters from Murang'a County. It's indeed an honor to have this conversation. And getting back to that, I would like to begin by what's the purpose of political parties. And the purpose of political parties in formation of government is the service to the people. Whether we are rebranding, whether we are joining together, whether we are separating apart, the major role of any political party in formation of a government is to be able to serve the people and have a vehicle that does that. If any of the vehicles that we have presently are not serving the people, we have a problem as Kenyans. And so the philosophy that I would like to see, whether it's the current Kenya Kwanza political organization, whether it's the opposition or the broad-based government, it's very difficult to know who is in government and who is not in government. But however the political formations are, the major perspective should be to serve the people of this country. If we do not have policies that are serving towards that direction, then it doesn't matter what political vehicle or what political formation we do have, because then the country and the people suffers.
And there has been no commensurate shelf life, for example, of political parties. Why do you think that has been the problem since multipartyism? Yes, it should be an avenue, a medium to attain power.
Yes. But
standing by the principles and ideologies that underpin these parties has been problematic and has proven so. Why do you think that has been the case?
I think only one political party has maintained through 3 political cycles. After KANU, I think only other one party that has maintained over 3 political cycles, which is ODM, which has survived all the way from 2007 up to currently.
Fort Kenya?
They have not formed government in a very long time.
Neither has the ODM party.
But they have formed government during the Grand Coalition.
Which was the government of...
yes, they were in government.
So they did not win power, that's my argument.
They were part of they had a prime minister.
Which was not drawn from the mandate of the people. It was as a result of peace talks that were midwifed by Kofi Annan, Benjamin Mkapa and the others.
However, the political shapings, whether from a grand coalition government, a broad-based government, or a handshake government on the formation of political parties, the reason why political parties have been relevant in service delivery is because they have had only one goal: to provide avenues of people to get into power, but they have no clear agenda on how to actually actualize the philosophy that they have brought on to the people to get to power. And a good example is what you have seen in the past 3 governments that have been formed. You have governments that have been popularly voted and people have high aspiration of them. But within the 2 years of their governance, all the way, look, even our late president, Moi Kibaki, he was one of the most popular presidents of this republic. But when he formed the Rainbow Coalition and they came into power, very popularly voted in. Within 2 years, there were so many wrangles that led to 2007 post-election violence, because the people did not see the value of that Rainbow Coalition in formation of that government. Look, in 2013, once political parties came and formed together, you had such a disquiet, and then you had demonstration in, day out. You remember, Baba, past 2013, there were demonstrations that went for weeks, for months.
All right.
After the 2017, we had to come to a handshake form of government. Look, even the current government, the Kenya Kwanza, within 2 years, we don't have the deputy president that we voted for during the 2022 elections. The political parties that we have formed and the philosophy of our political parties have been only for one thing. We have a political party to get me to where I am going. When I get there, we form another, let me call it another political party of oligarchs.
Okay.
And the oligarchs now are here, we are in power, and then we start dividing between who knows who, who has what, and so that now the Kenyans do not have anything else left.
All right. So, Bonadiji, that is an admission of failure on the part of the political class that you subscribe to.
Yes.
Okay. Buka, coming to you, of course you subscribe to a different political ideology away from the conventional ones that we have had in the country. What do you make of the current exercise in earnest which has begun of the change of political parties and a hint at a coalition into 2027?
First of all, thank you very much. But to understand the current status of political parties, it's important to go to history. Because if we don't go to history, then we cannot understand their nature and their ideology. In fact, the political parties that we have that dominate our politics only have one ideology. That means self-interest and capitalism. They are all looking for money. So it's politics of money bags. In fact, the poor majority don't have a position on those vehicles that are owned by individuals. It's important to know that even in the admission of the multi-party politics, 1997, when the original party, Social Democratic Party, was registered, that has now come to be the Communist Party now, you will realize that at that time, the communist as a political ideology was banned in our country. So we have actually copied what we are calling the democracy of the United States and Europe, where there are two political parties or three political parties, but all of them are the same. In fact, you have mentioned the two political parties, for example, Orange Democratic Party. You mentioned NAC that has now revolved. But you will have even like to interrogate further, that is it only a name of change or progression in terms of ideology? Because for a moment, this is a very important month for the Kenyan people. But none of those political parties, for example, have actually acknowledged that the current failure of the current administration, the Kenya Kwanza administration, has been also because the political party that only copies the external ideological environment that dominates the world. Okay. None of them has recognized that on February 18th, Dedan Kimathi was hanged by the neck to death by the colonial masters. None of those political parties are talking about on 24th of February, Pio Gama Pinto, who was introducing the politics of ideology that started the Patrice Lumumba Institute, was assassinated by the then Jomo Kenyatta regime. What it basically means that every person that have challenged the politics of personality cult has been targeted by the dominating ideas, with it opposition or even government. Even the current status that we are in, for example, the Gen Z uprising, why does the primary political parties hate them, whether they are in opposition or in government? Because they are challenging the status quo. Nobody wants to leave the trappings of power for the young people. So it's all deception.
Okay. Yeah. Nathaniel, your party recently merged and dissolved to the UDA party. Why, after so long, has your party leader decided to cozy up and do away with his party and join the UDA party?
So first of all, thank you so much, Abdi, for having me this morning. ANC voluntarily dissolved to join UDA party. It is for very strategic reasons. We join hands with the UDA party so that we can be able to bring together a merge of ideas that we have always had for a very, very long time. As you will remember, in the last elections, we had a coalition called Kenya Kwanza, which we still have now, which is the ruling government. That coalition envisaged the ideas of Uchumi Bora, Pesa Mfukoni, primarily what ANC stood for and what UDA stands for, the bottom up. So we better bring together all these ideas and implement and work together as a team. Every political cycle, there must be calculations. This was a strategic engagement between ANC and UDA. That's why you are seeing all of our ANCs now defunct, and we now are in UDA. That's why we have, when you have a river Nile, there are tributaries that join and form a bigger river, because we must be able to come together in a unity of purpose. This is the first point. The second point is that I want
Before you go to the second point,
yes.
Then tell us how then this convergence of ideas will be seamless, because your former party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, even demonstrated how the bottom-up economic transformation agenda may not work for Kenyans. He even demonstrated through drinking of water how that wasn't tenable. I mean, clearly this was a very clear dichotomy. And then how does this then converge? How is this going to solve the problems Kenyans are facing from an ideological perspective?
So, Abdi, that was a statement that the Prime Cabinet Secretary said in jest even before forming the coalition. It was a statement, it's political semantics at the time.
But Kenyans they don't care about semantics. But to also remind you that in January 2022, in the run-up to the elections, the former Amani National Congress Party leader said to Sidanganyane, giving an account of how the economy was messed up by Uhuru Kenyatta, only for him to warm up to his then deputy William Ruto. I mean, if it's a matter of ideology and cleansing the political system, how come then that the Prime Cabinet Secretary was convinced beyond reasonable doubt that William Ruto is the man who now he shares an ideology with?
So first of all, the party has structures within its rank and file. And one of the most important structures is the National Delegate Conference. The NDC took a resolution that ANC should dissolve and join UDA in a merger. This is the resolution of the structures. And the party leadership has to abide by the resolutions of the structures. So that's, the motion was taken through the rank and file of the party. This is the most important point, because it is not the party leader who makes the individual decision to dissolve a party or to make such an important step forward. But secondly, Abdi, for the first time in the politics of this country, I want to differ with what Buka said. In 2022, we had an election based on an agenda. The other elections were based on tribes or amalgamation of tribes. In 2022, we had an agenda of the poor people, the bottom up, versus the other people. This was very clear. You could see that politics revolve around this ideology. But for the first time, we are seeing people trying to take us back to the politics of tribalism, which is very retrogressive. And that's why we want to be in tandem and align with the young people. And I want to be very proud of what the UDA government is doing in Murang'a, Stephen and the governor. They are doing a very good job. You can see there is service delivery to the people of Murang'a. This one I must congratulate them. But for the first time, our politics changed in 2022. And there's somebody who's trying to clearly and deliberately take us back to the politics of tribalism, which we must oppose.
That's somebody regarding Gachagua.
You said it.
So, Ibra, do you have Angel's mic? Okay, yeah, so we are. So the only lady I was to begin with for purposes of balance. I'll come to you, because your party has it's a big day for your party. At its 20th birthday.
These guys are all celebrating it.
And the tie symbolizes that. Angel, what do you make of all this regrouping? Do they involve value for the Kenyan people?
Ayub, when I look at Kenya's political history, I would say today is a momentous day, or we are living in momentous days in terms of political parties, because if a political analyst of 1982 wakes up today and sees the kind of formations that we have, they would be proud, because it was in 1982 when KANU became a de jure, or became legally the party that was going to run Kenya at that time. And these are things that Kenyans fought for even since that day. And today to see people coming up, birthing political parties, I think that is a healthy way to go for Kenya's democracy. I think as we have progressed on up to 1992, because even when Section 2A was repealed in 1992, it didn't start in 1992, they began way earlier. And those struggles have come to both fruition, what we are seeing today. And in the journey of political parties, what I see today is that we still have weaknesses in the formation of political parties. I would still say that young people are muzzled out because of how we are supposed to form a political party, and I think that's something we need to review. Because you can't tell us that you need the presence in our 24 counties, physical presence. You can't tell us that you need 250,000 just to register for a political party, and then you have to wait for vetting from the intelligence service. I think that those are so many, those are obstacles that are still reflecting 1992 and 1982 politics of not allowing us to be able to form political parties now, that young people are being forced into joining the bigger parties or parties formed by individuals. I think that's something we need to revise in terms of political parties and establishment of political parties. The other weakness I can attest to in our political party environment is that as a Jubilee member, we have one of the most incompetent registrar of political parties. I had seen it when in 2022 when she was gagged by the current president because of muzzling Jubilee Party, when the president was trying to use Jubilee Party as a way of showing that he can suppress political parties in Kenya, and she has been allowing that to happen. And then I saw it, and then we saw her do it again with the question of the majority in Parliament. And I think she is really dragging down and sinking and diluting democracy in Kenya, because she is not working by the laws that guide, or by the spirit of the 2010 Constitution. That is one loophole that we have in the political parties' formations, and I think that's something we must fix as a nation. We cannot have someone who is biased to become a registrar of political parties, because that is the bedrock and the basis of political parties in Kenya.
Okay, we'll talk about why you are also hell-bent on contesting on the Jubilee Party ticket, and since it's merger of the more than 10 parties which folded in September 2016, and not as young Kenyans form your own entity. So we'll be talking about that and whether the fight from within is sustainable, given the money aspect you talked about and the finances. Happy 20th birthday, Philip.
Thank you.
And good morning to you. So how important is today for the ODM party, which you have subscribed to? Is it an eagle moment for the party to gain a rebirth?
Very well, Ayub. Firstly, thank you for having me. It's been a while. Of course, a good moment for Kenyans, a good moment for those who support democracy and reforms in this country. And just like you ask, is it an ego moment for the party? I think it's a momentous moment for Kenyans, especially people who have believed in reforms. Like my brother Mongare says, our politics changed in 2022 fundamentally, but not in terms of ideologies, between people, the poor versus the rich, like he says, which is never an ideology in political parties. In ODM, and why we've survived today for 2 decades is because we are founded on strong ideologies. We're talking about social democracy. We're talking about reforms. We're talking about implementation of the new constitution, which has taken center stage in the developments around ODM. And today, I think probably the eldest party after KANU, which has been here for a long time, it's ODM. Most of the Ford Kenya has been here, but it's a mongrel of the previous party. You know, the reforms for Forum for Restoration of Democracy is no longer Forum for Restoration of Democracy. It's you know, you can't describe Ford Kenya today. You have a speaker who is a party leader, who happens in no any other democracy. So today, as we celebrate,
but is the ODM party? Doesn't everything in the ODM party revolve around the former Prime Minister, whose omnipresence, even while campaigning for the AUC, has been very clear? I mean, there were the likes of Sifuna and company who stood for the ideals of the party social democracy, and there were some who were just seeing Odinga as the persona who was driving the party. The argument that ODM is Raila and Raila is ODM.
It would be a nice thing if the former Prime Minister holds the center for the party for that long, and that he's seen as the epitome of reforms, which means then that the party takes after his ideals and what is thought of. But what the former Prime Minister has done, which has shaped the democracy of Kenya, is rallying people behind an ideology, behind an idea that has lived for well over 20 years. So if you look at the argument of whether he is the party or that the party relies on him as much, I would say no, because when he was running, for example, for the AU seat, chairperson's role, he had handed over that role to the Secretary General of, the former Secretary General of ODM, who is my governor in Kisumu, to steer the party. The party was still alive. There was an SG who is still an SG who has been advocating the ideals of the same party. When we talk about reforms, when we talk about the new constitution, when we talk about devolution, when we talk about the people of Kenya, then that is what defines ODM. It's not Raila Amolo Odinga. But the Raila Amolo Odinga as a person has been the face of all this transition. What ODM as a party has done is we've given birth to parties, small parties like UDA, for example. We've given birth to the Wipers. We've given birth to the ANCs are a breakaway from ODM, and name it. All the political parties today, but for example, are all breakaways from ODM. So if an idea can outlive an individual, and an idea can shape a nation such as Kenya, then that is the epitome of what we're talking about. Political parties that can revolutionize a generation. A political party that can actually give rise to another person becoming a president, even before the other person.
We'll talk about that and the intent to formalize the political come we stay between the president and the former prime minister, and what happened in the aftermath of
that's not
campaigns.
A very beautiful term, Ayub. It's not a come we stay. we are reforming the country.
We'll talk about all those reforms, and fair enough. We'll talk about all those reforms.
Ayub Mogara mentioned.
We have time, so let's go. Let's get back from the break. We have an hour to discuss all that and the rights of reply here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Back with more after the break on Daybreak. Stay tuned.